with comedian David Boyle, and I'm quitting alcohol. So I am back. Tomorrow night, the Boyle is back. One of stand-up comedy's greatest comebacks begins tomorrow night. Tomorrow night, I will be doing my first gig in 7 fucking months. My last gig was in March, early March up in Sydney. That was the last fucking gig I did. My last real gig anyway. I did a couple of stream things that were a fucking nightmare. But this is the real deal. There'll be a fucking stage, a microphone, and a crowd. Not much of a crowd because the venue has an 8-person limit. 8 people. That's 4 on one side of the room and 4 on the other side of the room. That's if the venue's real lucky as well. They could only get 4 people, 2 on each side. 8 people will be great. But that's as good as it is possibly going to get. If you get 8 people in there, that's as good as it's going to get. Going in there knowing that is actually quite liberating because who gives a fuck? I'm going in there and I'm going to fucking bomb. I'm going in there and I'm going to fucking stink up that joint. I haven't written any new jokes in the last 7 months and I'm not using any of my old material. Fuck that. I'm walking up to the microphone. I'm introducing myself and then I'm staying silent. I'm just going to eat the fucking bomb. Maybe I'll say a couple of things. I'll start abusing the crowd, get half of them to walk out. I'm actually a tiny bit nervous because I really am unprepared. And I really pretty much haven't written a joke in 7 months as well. And I'm definitely not doing my old material. The worst thing that could happen to me right now is I go up there tomorrow night, unprepared, haven't written a joke in 7 months, haven't done a gig in 7 months, and go up there and fucking kill it. Nothing could be worse for me than that. Because that will just make me think I don't have to do anything ever again. Best thing that can happen to me is I go out there unprepared and just eat shit in front of 8 bewildered audience members who I'm making feel so uncomfortable with how bad I'm going that they wish they were back in lockdown. That's the best thing that could happen to me. Because then I come back and I go, fuck, it's time to get to work. No more holidays now. Let's get a fucking half an hour to an hour together over the next 12 to 18 months. Let's start working from now. But if I have a good set, it'll just confirm bad habits. The only time you learn in stand-up comedy is when you're eating shit. You have to bomb. You have to go out there and eat shit. And the best comedians eat shit a lot. And before the lockdown, I would have to say I was in this little period where I'd got like a really tight, maybe 15 minutes to half an hour together. I had a really tight 15 that pretty much worked anywhere in the world. India, Malaysia, New York, everywhere in Australia. My 30 minutes was really good. And then I probably, in hindsight, had another 15 to an hour. I probably had an hour of material. And I would say, in hindsight, at the time, at the start of this year, I thought I had an hour. But now I think I only had about maybe 40 minutes. But that 15-minute set was pretty much airtight. And I would do it around. And I sort of got into this trap where I was too comfortable doing that 15 minutes and having it work all the time that I got into this place where I was too scared to try new shit, which is the worst trap you can get into as a comedian. Because unless you're writing new jokes, trying it, bombing, you're not actually doing comedy. All you're really doing is doing the greatest hits. You know it works. It's definitely good to have shit you know that works. It gets you out of fucking jams. But when you're trapped in your material, it can start killing you. And you start getting depressed with yourself as well. It'd be like a skateboarder only learning a kickflip. And that's it. And they stop learning. And they just show everyone their kickflip. And everyone's like, oh man, that was cool the first time I saw it. What else have you got? Nah, nothing. Have a look at my kickflip again. No one cares. Fuck off with your kickflip. So I'm really pretty much going to start again from scratch from tomorrow night. Maybe I'll keep a few of the bits that I had before COVID, but I really want to start afresh. I can't be fucked doing any of that material anymore. I'm a different fucking person. If I go up there tomorrow night, I'm prepared, ready to bomb, start doing my set, then panic and go into old material, I'm quitting comedy. I'm not going to do comedy anymore because I don't have the fucking balls to do it. If I can't go up there tomorrow night and just fucking eat shit, I don't deserve to be on the stage. I don't know if any of you have watched it, but you've got to watch this documentary. It's the Comedy Store in LA documentary. It is one of the best documentaries I've ever seen. If you're a comedy fan, actually, even if you're not a comedy fan, because every famous person you've ever thought of has gone through the Comedy Store in LA. But it's a 5-6 part documentary and it takes you through the history of the Comedy Store in LA. You got to watch it. But all these famous comedians, like I'm talking Jim Carrey, Damon Wayans, David Letterman, like all the comedy royalty, all they talk about is how hard they fucking bombed. How hard they would eat shit. Jim Carrey spent 2.5 years bombing, just eating dick. And he's like, that made me fearless. He's like, it gave me a superpower. You got to go watch it. Look it up. The series is just called The Comedy Store. It's fucking great. So I'm making the comeback tomorrow night. I also had the grand unveiling today. The first unveiling of my summer rig at the beach. Today was the first day I presented my new rig to the world. And there wasn't a lot of fanfare, to be honest with you. Not a lot of people noticed. And I'm going to be honest with you, I'm still in the bottom maybe 20% of rigs at the beach. But I'm no longer the worst rig on the beach. When I used to go down to the beach, that's all I would do. I would look for people who had worse bodies than me. And there were never that many. Because I had the combo of being fucking pale white, massive bitch hips, little titties, and a hairy fucking chest and gut. It was a weird shaped body. It was fucking off-putting. That's why I didn't go down the beach a lot, to be honest with you. And that's what happens at the beach. Most of the people going down the beach are people with good rigs. There's not a lot of fatties down there. Fatties are making all sorts of excuses not to get down to the beach. I know, I used to make them. Oh, I don't like the sand. I'm worried about skin cancer. Isn't the ocean polluted? I heard there's pedophiles in the bushes at that beach. You know, any excuse not to go down to the beach. And then once I was there, it was 50-50 whether I was going to jump in or not. I'm like, oh, I don't know. I don't really want to get sand all stuck to me. You know, I get rashed up. I start chafing. And then if I did decide to go in, it was a 50-50 whether I wear my t-shirt or not. But the t-shirt is not the go. But today was the first time that I can even remember where I wasn't ashamed to get the shirt off down the beach. I was still in the bottom 20% of rigs though. I checked out every rig on the beach, every guy rig on the beach. I was exclusively checking out the guy rigs. I don't even know if there were girls on the beach. I think there were, there might have been, I don't know. But fuck, there were some hot guy bods there. I'm like, how did you get that 6-pack? Like, what the fuck have you been doing to get that fucking shredded? Half the people on the beach had 6-packs. They're all younger kids as well, like in their fucking early 20s. Anyone can have a 6-pack in your 20s. Go fuck yourself. I didn't, but most people can. No one cares if you got a 6-pack in your 20s. Wait till you're fucking in your 40s and 50s, see how you're going. That's what I was looking at. I wanted to look at the people my age, and there was a few sloppy rigs out there. I was looking at a couple of guys and just going, mate, it's time to hit the gym. And I was wondering if they were looking at me as like inspiration, because I had the 2 kids there as well, so they know I'm a dad. So I was wondering if they were looking at me just going, where does he find time to keep that just slightly above average rig? He's got a baby, he's got a 4-year-old, he carried all the shit down the beach. I'm going to assume they were. But here's the thing, I don't think this 6-pack bod is the best bod. There's something a little bit too egotistical about that. There's other rigs out there that are better. You want the natural looking rig. You want to look strong, you want to look like you can fuck shit up, but you don't want to look like you wax your chest. My goal is just to get to the top 50% of rigs on the beach. I don't want to be in the top 10%, that's disgusting. The top 20% is too hard. I'll have to sacrifice my whole life to get there. Top 50% of bodies at the beach is manageable. It's going to take a little bit more work, a fair bit more work, but I'm going to get there. And top 50% of bodies on the beach is completely different to top 50 in the real world. Because fatties get filtered out by the time they get to the beach. You lose a lot of fatties on the way to the beach. They'll cut their gas line, they'll drain the battery, they'll fuck up their transmission. They will do anything not to get to the beach. But anyway, there's more work to do to get that rig fucking cranking. The comeback starts tomorrow. It's all happening. I'll fill you in tomorrow. Alright, see you the fuck later.